To having you are the agenda, so you're what's on tap for tonight. So I'm going to hand it over to our Planning Commission Chairman, Mr. Eddie Greer, and he's going to call the meeting to order.
Okay, before we call this meeting to order, I would like to introduce the Planning and Zoning Commission. Mr. Kim Willis, Chris Holmes, and that's why I'm Eddie Greer, and two of our members are not here, and Kerry Williams is the Deputy Town Clerk. Also, I'd like to introduce the town board members. Mr. Keith Crawford, which you just met, is the mayor. Charles Liddell is a member. Wayne Sunday is a member. Larry Hoagland is the town clerk. And John Sagelski is the treasurer. Also at this time, I would like to introduce the members of the comprehensive plan. Larry Curtis is what is your consultant, yes, sir. Todd McGuire is with the sewer department. Larry Hogan is again on the town board. Kent Willis is on our planning commission. Steve Donovan with the water department. And Richard Honey, which I don't believe is here right now. We'll go to item 1 on the agenda.
Can you speak up, please?
Huh?
Can you speak up a little bit more so I hear you?
Item 1 on the agenda, is that good enough? Item 1 on the agenda is a public meeting on the Vision Verdigris Comprehensive Plan. This is discussion only. No decisions will be made. At this time, we are going to try to let everyone state their concerns or their questions. You will have 3 minutes to do that. We ask that you not interrupt while a person is speaking or asking a question. Just wait till it's your turn. At this time, I'll turn the meeting over to Larry Curtis, the consultant.
Thanks, Eddie. Hi, everyone. My name is Larry Curtis, and I'm the consultant for this project. Some of you may know me from when I used to work here in Rogers County. I used to be the Planning Commission Director for Rogers County for 5 years, a little over 6 years ago. And I helped the area towns from time to time. I've helped Verdigris and Inola and Hooliga on some of the projects that they've had over the years. And so tonight, it's just a discussion only. This is to get input from you. And we have a PowerPoint slide that we'll kind of go through and talk about it, and to get information from you as it's associated with this project. So without further ado, all right, so this is the Vision Verdigris, which is a comprehensive plan. Many communities do comprehensive plans. Some of you may know that Rogers County did one recently, which was a very in-depth process, which I know had a lot of input from some of the citizens that may even be in here tonight, which is great. And that's the whole point, is to get input from the citizens on how their community wants to move forward. So, what is Vision Verdigris and what is not? So, it is a guide for the community that helps with infrastructure, services enhancement, land use, historical and cultural preservation. Underneath Title 11, Section 43-103 of the Oklahoma State Statutes, states that municipal regulations as to buildings, structures, and land shall be made in accordance with the comprehensive plan and be designed to accomplish any of the following objectives: to lessen congestion in the streets, to secure safety from fire, panic, and other dangers, to promote health and general welfare, including peace and quality of life of the district, to provide adequate light and air, to prevent the overcrowding of land, to promote historical preservation, to avoid undue concentration of population, or to facilitate with the adequate provisions of transportation, water, sewage, schools, parks, and other public requirements. These regulations shall be made with reasonable consideration, among other things, as to the character of the district and its particular suitability of particular uses, and with a view to conserving the value of buildings and encouraging the most appropriate use of land throughout the municipality. The governing body shall be the manner in which the regulations, restrictions, and district boundaries shall be determined, established, and enforced, and amended, supplemented, or changed. This only affects the town of Verdigris. This does not affect outside of the town of Verdigris. And I know there's a lot of concerns associated with planning outside, annexation, and things along those lines, and I'll go over those things here in a moment. So what it is not, this is not a law. So if you notice in the previous, it says municipal regulations shall be made in accordance, but just because a community is to have one, just because a community is to have one, it is not done so by law. It is done so by a resolution, and so therefore it is not a law that has to be followed. It is simply a guide for the community moving forward. It is not permanent. It can be changed at any time. It is not required by the federal government. It is not a development project, and it will not happen overnight. This is a guide for the next 25 years. So many communities do this. So, Collinsville, Owasso, other communities do that. Small communities, large communities, they all do a comprehensive plan. So it's to help guide. So here's the timeline. Back in July of 2022, we had a kickoff with the committee that was formed by the town board. From that, we had committee meetings and we did data research pretty much the entire portion of the year 2022. Starting from those meetings, it was determined that we should have an online survey. And so in January of this year, we had an online survey that went out through social media, through our website, through other such things to try to get public input. Then we had a meeting back in April of this year, which we had some people come to and talk to about concerns that they had about the potential of a comprehensive plan. Out of that information, we had committee meetings and we drafted this document. And so we're here tonight at this public meeting to kind of talk about the draft, to get additional input, thoughts, inquiries, and things along those lines. After this meeting, there'll be more committee meetings. There'll be, refining of that document, updates to the document from the information that you guys will be providing. And then we'll probably have another public meeting. From that public meeting, we'll probably have another committee meeting, and then we'll have possible adoption sometime in April or May of next year. So we have our website, visionverdigris.org is out there. We have social media out there. I know that we put out there on various social media pages, Verdigris community page and things along those lines about this, about the comprehensive plan. We put out public information to various news agencies. There have been articles that were provided by Declare More Progress. There's an article by Channel 8. And so we did the online survey. We had 147 respondents of the information from that survey. And then we had the public meeting in April of 2023. We had about 20 people that were in attendance that night. And so far we've had this public meeting tonight. So the survey is available and through online to be able to be provided. These are the concerns that were raised at the April meeting. There were some very strong concerns about the United Nations Agenda 21, concerns about Biden 3030, annexation, intimate domain, and apartments. Out of that meeting, there were boards that were placed up across the room, which people could provide their thoughts on what the top 3 things that were important to them, provide written notes on those boards. We do have those still here tonight. But these were the highlights that came out of that. There was concerns about highway access, concerns about if there are trails, not using private land for those trails. support of police and fire, improvement to public utilities, river access and small parks, strong schools, bedroom community, large lot homes, subdivisions but not tiny or small lots, senior housing, retail, town space, and identification of traffic issues that were associated with them. So Verdigris, as you know, has had a huge growth spurt over the last 10 years. 1980, this town was about 350 individuals, and then in 1990 had about 450, 2000, 659, and then in 2010 had a gigantic jump to nearly 4,000 individuals. I remember that news article actually, whenever that came out, how Verdigris was the #1 community in the state of Oklahoma that had nearly 101% increase in population since the 2000 census. And since that time, Verdigris is sitting roughly about 5,256 as of the last census data. Demographics show that there are more boys that are, double thing. Sorry. But there are more boys being born that are part of the community versus girls, and this kind of shows the age demographics that are going on within the community. Here's the breakdown by race of the total population of the community, and then also showing our what the average household income is, sitting at $69,291, which is truly exciting for this community in comparison to communities roughly the same size. You look at Bonita up the road, it's sitting at $38,000. Hugo is at $27,000. Pauls Valley, which is a county seat, sits at about $41,000. So Verdigris is doing exceptionally well on its household income. In the sense of education, in 2016, Verdigris had 92% of the population that had a high school degree or above. Since that time, 2021, high school degree or above is now sitting at 95%. So there's this wonderful projection of education that's going on in the community. In addition to that, Verdigris back in 2016 had roughly about 16.6% of the population is having a bachelor's degree, and now sitting at 23.7%. Again, a huge testament to Verdigris Public Schools and the community as a whole. In the sense of economics, Verdigris' main sales tax producing, I think everyone knows, is going to be the Book Trip, and it's going to be Family Dollar that produces the most sales tax, unless I assume it's game night and then it's going to be Sonic. So that's going to be a big draw as well. In addition to that, the main employment drivers that are local to the area, of course, are the Port of Catoosa, and then the industrial Amway industrial park that's up here on the north side, just outside of town. And so that's kind of what's showing the lower left side there. The drive time, as many of you may know here, is that it's roughly about 10 minutes, showing in that red area. Green area is 21 minutes, and then 40 minutes is the blue area, so travel time out from Verdigris. So I think a lot of what the people here tonight is about land use, especially future land use. And so the comprehensive plan at its core is about trying to help provide a guide for the community as it moves forward. As you may have noticed, there was a request to have a mini storage facility put up on Highway 66 and 266, zone commercial, and so that was what was installed there. Was that potentially the highest best use? Maybe, maybe not. But those are the types of concerns that some citizens may have moving forward within this community. But this map here shows what the current land is being utilized for according to the Rogers County Assessor website. This shows what's being utilized for residential, which is the yellow, what's being used for agricultural, which is the green, what is being utilized for commercial, which is red, what is currently being utilized for government, so school, city space, fire department, rural water district, and sewer district is blue. And then the brown area is what's currently called open space, or not currently being utilized. That's not necessarily anything, but what is just kind of an open field that's not being utilized for agricultural purposes. So this is what the current town boundary is. This is the city limits here. What the blue dash line shows is what's the fence line of Verdigris. So to kind of explain what that is the town boundary, the city limits that are incorporated are the ones that you see that are colored. The fence line, back whenever Verdigris was created, there was a fence line that was created, which is basically a strip that went around this perimeter that is incorporated that provides a fence boundary for the community. What that helps, or what that does, is that prevents Catoosa from jumping up across the river and annexing this area into Catoosa. And it also prevents Claremore, or what was Valley Park, I don't know if that still exists anymore, to the north from jumping over and trying to annex in that area. So it creates a buffer, in a sense, to prevent other communities from trying to take over what is perceived to be the community of Verdigris. Even though it's not the town limits of Verdigris, it's what's considered what everyone feels to be the community of Verdigris. And that was established roughly back in 1980 as well, whenever the city was incorporated. So, understanding that this is the current town limits, and let's talk about the elephant in the room that has a lot of people concerned, especially those that live outside the town limits, is annexation. State law changed 4 years ago that makes it very, very difficult for towns to annex forcibly. So let's first talk about voluntary annexation. That means that if I live in Rogers County and I want to come into the town of Verdigris, then, and I want to be a part of that, then I have to get at least 3/4 of the registered voters and the owners of at least 3/4 in value of the property in any territory adjacent to the town to agree to that. So that means, if it's just me, then obviously I get 100%. But if there's a group of people that are wanting to be annexed in, then that has to meet that requirement, and that's voluntary annexation. Annexation by the town itself, it has to, the town, if it were to, for some reason, annex out there, not for non-voluntary reasons, it has to get 65% approval. 65% of the affected acreage and 25% of the impacted population has to agree to this. So it has to meet that minimum threshold. Talking with the committee and seeing the concerns that have been raised is that there is recommended as a part of this document is that this town will only approve voluntary annexation, that they will not move forward with any annexation by town action. And so that is something that I know that this committee will be making a recommendation to the Planning Commission and to the town board, is that annexation only be for voluntary purposes. So if that were the case, a lot of people saw this next map and were very concerned that they were being annexed into the city or the town. And that's not the case. What this map shows is what is within the town limits currently. Oops, sorry. And then if someone wants to be annexed into the town, what that land could be utilized for. Should it be used for residential? Should it be used for industrial? Should it be used for commercial purposes? That's the purpose of this future land map. And in addition to that, if somebody were from the town to come in and say, I want to do a rezoning, what should I rezone it to? This map will help guide them to that, to be for residential purposes or for commercial purposes or something along those lines. So this is not an annexation plan. This is that is forceful. It is a plan that says if somebody wants to be annexed, then this is what the correlating uses could be utilized for. And if it doesn't, and then if something were to change within the town boundary, what that would be aligned for. So, looking at those colors, remember to the previous map, green is agricultural, yellow is residential, brown is what we call level 3, which is office, potentially multifamily. We'll talk about that too, don't worry. Red is commercial, blue is a district, and then purple is industrial. And we'll talk about that. Well, and And you're doing it in regards to that, that's a comparison of what's currently within town boundaries. And the percentage there is if everything was annexed into the city, let's say everyone voluntarily wanted to come into the town, then that's what that percentage would be. And again, this is a plan that's for the next 25 years. And so this isn't, tomorrow flip the switch and all of a sudden there's a million new lots out there or anything like that. This is just showing what potential land uses could be in the future. And again, this is not finalized. None of this is finalized. This all can change. Absolutely, before anything. So, again, seeing those colors, green means level 1, which is dedicated for agricultural purposes and very large lot estate type development. So that's in that green. Level 2 is for residential purposes, so residential homes, subdivision, things along those lines would be utilized for that purpose. Level 3 is for higher density residential uses, which also has office, some light commercial, and some potential multifamily. So going back to that map, so wherever you see the brown, that's what that's talking about. Again, all that can be removed, all that can be changed. This is not finalized yet. Okay, and then the red is for commercial, which is predominantly along major intersections and along Highway 66. And then level 5 is a potential again, district, which would be a special zoning district for the development of that land for a district plan. And then level 6 is for industrial uses. Transportation. So looking at the grid is associated with the town of Verdigris, both within and out. Again, the pink that you kind of see here is the city limits, and then outside of that. Again, if areas were to be annexed into the city of Verdigris, then there could be potential for the need to do some maintenance to the roads. And so identifying what are considered primary roads, so the dark blue are primary, and the red is secondary, so the purplish is secondary roads that are associated with that. So there could be a need to expand. And again, that is a potential that may need something to look about in the future. There also is an identification of potentially Main Street that can go away right there, but these are just some ideas that the committee had as putting this document together. Understanding what the roads are in Rogers County. Rogers County, give a little history, is that the reason in section line roads, you're limited to the total dedicated right-of-way of 33.5 feet. And that's because the treaty that was signed by the Creek Nation back before Oklahoma was a state stated that it would be so many rods, every section line road would be so many rods wide. Those rods total 33.5 feet. So if you go, in the Cherokee Nation, if you go to the Creek Nation, so if you go to Broken Arrow or something along those lines, then it's 50 feet wide because that was what was in their treaty. And if you go out to the west, Seminole and Comanche, theirs were 100 feet wide. And so those were what were dedicated as a part of the roads. But so here in Verdigris, because it's in Rogers County, it's in the Creek Nation, the dedication of right-of-way is 33.5 feet. So trying to fit roads within that right-of-way without doing any type of eminent domain leads to these possible layouts. So if there was a need to expand, and again, that would require engineering, that would require what's called a warrant, which is done by a engineering team through ODOT or through the county or something along those lines. There would be an analysis done, but these are some potential layouts. So that could be a 3-lane, that could be a 2-lane with a path, so like a sidewalk. That could be a 2-lane with a bike trail and a walk trail next to it. So these are possibilities. This is not saying what it is or what it's going to be or anything along those lines. It's trying to stay within that 33.5 feet. These are just conceptual ideas. It does not mean that it's going to happen today, tomorrow, or within the next year or anything along those lines. These are just conceptual drawings. Again, that would have to be done through engineering. Infrastructure. As you may or may not know, the town of Verdigris provides police service, and they provide guidance over land use and things along those lines. Other entities like Rural Water District 5 provides water service for the town of Verdigris. And so that's the main water lines are shown here in the blue. And then Rural Sewer District 1 provides sewer service for the town. In addition to that, AEP-PSO provides power, along with a tiny portion of Verdigris Valley in another area. And then we have various AT&T or various cable companies that provide various services in other forms. And so all those infrastructure items are all handled by multiple entities, which means that as the town grows, there needs to be great cooperation amongst those entities to make sure it grows in a good way and a good pattern. So having a document that encourages proper development and growth is the best way to kind of go about that process. Parks and Recreation. Town of Verdigris does not have any parks as it stands right now. There are pocket parks or small community parks that are owned and maintained by private HOAs, as everyone knows. There has been a donation of 10 acres over here. Oops, there we go again. Over here on the west side, next to the Verdigris River, there was 10 acres that was donated, and then additional 10 acres were acquired by the town for a total of 20 acres for a potential town park over there. In addition to that, for a town Verdigris' size, when you have about 5,000 individuals, you start looking at different metrics of potential need for parks along those lines. So these areas, this is not saying this is the size of the park or anything like that. It's just saying these are area locations somewhere around here that might be a good location for a community park or neighborhood park located there as well. Generally, as the community grows, there'll be, through the planning commission or through initiatives by the citizens, they'll come in and say, hey, we would like to have X, Y, Z. So most likely there'll be a separate study done that will say specifically, what to utilize this 20 acres for over here on the west side, or potentially, what land to be utilized for here in town that may be currently empty that someone wants to donate to the town, or something along those lines. Housing and neighborhoods. So currently, Verdigris has roughly about 1,564 housing units within the town. So that's single-family detached. We have 8 attached. That means 2 buildings kind of connected in a row. There are 34 duplexes. There are roughly 293 mobile homes and 0 RV. And so the median home value in Verdigris is $175,000. The 88% of the homes here in Verdigris are owner-occupied, with 12% that are renter-occupied. Currently, Verdigris issues 36 building permits every year. 36 building permits so far for 2022. Looking at the trend for the past 10 years, if you can imagine this kind of going that way, the growth rate is 0.48% compounded rate. So therefore, using that same growth rate, this is the projection showing that by the year 2050, there would be 60 new home permits that would be issued. That's just showing your data. It doesn't mean that that will actually happen. That's just showing what kind of trajectory you're on. And so by having a document, if this community wants to slow down that process, having a document in place that says we want to limit our growth rate to XYZ will help curb that down. Or if the community is okay with that, then that's the standard projection as the community moves forward. So there's been a big concern about multifamily and apartments. And someone pointed this out that says, hey, whenever we came to our meeting back in April, we said specifically no apartments, and that is absolutely true. But there was also a big push for a request for senior housing. And so typically senior housing is more than, or is typically multi-unit. It is not generally one house. And so keeping that in mind is that yes, apartments are not wanted by this community, understood. But the demand for the senior housing is a part of that. Now, what was not specifically stated in the draft of the comprehensive plan is that only senior housing will be recommended for approval as it moves forward. And so the committee is looking to make that change as well. But specifically within the document, it says the demand for multifamily housing in Verdigris has seen a nuanced shift in recent years, with a particular rise in interest in duplexes and senior-focused apartment living. The change is a reflection of evolving demographics and housing needs for the town. And so that updated as a part of the comprehensive plan. Placemaking. So this is where we talk about these districts. And so the committee was looking at the former golf course as a potential location of the district, which only means that there would be a heavier focus on that area in the future, meaning that there could be a potential for several meetings, especially with the neighborhood, to talk about what potentially this could be utilized for. Could it be a downtown area type thing? Could it be a mixed use type thing? Could it just be a big open park? It could be any of those things, but it's just kind of identifying this. The committee was identifying that this is a concern, and then as the community moves forward, there needs to be a very strong focus to ensure that whatever this gets turned into, whatever it is utilized for, is something that is in benefit to the abutting neighborhood and the community as a whole. So we'll talk about it. Anyway, so that's what that was kind of alluding to there. Quality of life. So quality of life talks about community identity, wanting to make Verdigris, ensuring that the identity of the community moves forward, that there is identification, what are called gateways, aka the entrance to the town on the south side and on the north side, identified as Verdigris, as being Verdigris, so that people know, and that there could be potential pride associated with that could be installed on Highway 66 or 266 as well. Community health, is there a need for recreational facilities, ensuring that there's clean water and outdoor activity. Community sustainability, promoting local businesses and other practices, arts and culture, promoting local artists, continued learning and events. Public safety, that ensures lower crime, disaster preparedness, and emergency response. Implementation. So this is the last chapter of this document. So there are action items, there are operational changes, regulations, studies, financial investments, priorities that are listed as short-term, some things that need to be done in the next 1 to 3 years, medium-term, next 4 to 10 years, and long-term, the next 11 to 20 years. So implementation, so these are the partnerships that the town needs to work through as a part of this comprehensive plan to help it develop, is the partnerships with the homeowners associations, local businesses, town departments, Rogers County, the school district, utility providers, NCOG, and the Rogers County Economic Development Authority. So funding, so there can be a lot of questions as these are pie in the sky ideas, and that's the thing, is that the comprehensive plan is just a plan to provide thoughts as this community develops and moves forward. Where does the funding come from? And a lot of people say, are we going to increase your taxes or anything along those lines? Not me, but the town board. And so these are some of the funding mechanisms that are available to the community. So there's general obligation bonds, and as far as I know, this town does not have any right now. There are tax increment finance districts, which I believe the Tractor Supply is the first one in this town to utilize that. There are reinvestment zones. There are business improvement districts. There are regional funding. There's community development block grants. There's state funding, federal funding, and private funding. But any of this, so there can be donations or things along those lines. Indian Nation Council of Governments. It is the local regional planning office there in Tulsa. So there are goals that have been lined out in the comprehensive plan. So underneath land use, the first goal is to ensure that new development in Verdigris is of high quality, designed for longevity, contributing positively to the community's aesthetics, functionality, and sustainable growth. Goal number 2 is direct new development to occur an efficient, contiguous land use pattern that promotes the logical expansion of services, preserves community character, and optimizes the use of existing infrastructure. Goal number 3 is to update the zoning code to promote appropriate land use, enhance community character, and support economic growth. Goal 4 is to update the subdivision regulations to promote appropriate land use, managing growth efficiency, and enhance the quality of life in the community. Transportation is to leverage innovative transportation practices to mitigate congestion and expand transportation options in Verdigris, ensuring effective coordination with the county and regional partners for holistic regional transportation planning and execution. Goal number 2 is to enhance the aesthetic appeal, multimodal options, and safety along key corridors in Verdigris, and incorporating distinctive design features, establishing recognizable community branding, and integrating comprehensive planning policies and provisions. Community infrastructure established substantial practices in the maintenance and development of the community infrastructure in Verdigris, emphasizing collaborative efforts, strategic planning, and sustainability in all aspects of infrastructure development. Goal number 2 is to strengthen the resiliency of community resources against disasters and floods in Verdigris, thereby ensuring the safety and well-being of the residents and essential services and the preservation of local assets. Goal number 3 is to proactively plan and develop infrastructure in areas prioritized for economic growth, working closely with Rural Water District 5 and Rural Sewer District 1 to create a conducive environment for the development and expansion of businesses and industries within Verdigris. Underneath Parks and Recreation, to protect and conserve natural open spaces in Verdigris for the appreciation of nature and to foster passive recreation activities, enhancing the town's overall quality of life is its place. To create diverse recreational opportunities within Verdigris that cater to all residents, incorporating a variety of park types, including neighborhood, community, regional, and river parks. And goal number 3 is to establish an interconnected trail network system within Verdigris, utilizing existing right-of-ways to promote active transportation, increase accessibility, and enhance recreational opportunities. Housing, to develop an attractive mix of housing choices in Verdigris, focusing on large lot development, very limited multi-family dwellings, and senior housing, establishing residents to live within the town at all stages of life. Goal number 2 is to cultivate vibrant, inclusive, and sustainable neighborhoods by developing comprehensive strategies and to promote quality and diversity in housing options. This involves the updating subdivision regulations, adopting building codes, and implementing property maintenance codes to ensure the housing stock meets the evolving needs and preferences of Verdigris residents. Economic goals, to promote sustainable economic growth in Verdigris by attracting high-quality retail development. This aims to meet the needs of the current residents and general additional sales tax revenue to fund community improvements and services. Goal number 2, establish Verdigris as an attractive, affordable, and practical hub for entrepreneurs, small businesses, and light industrial development, capitalizing on existing resources and cultivating strategic partnerships to overcome limitations, with the understanding that the town has certain limitations on funding, talent, and resources. District goals: drive the development of dynamic town center district that enhances the sense of community, promotes local commerce, and cultivates the distinctive sense of place that makes Verdigris a unique and appealing destination. Goal number 2 is develop an overlay district for the historic Route 66 corridor within the town to preserve unique heritage, enhance the aesthetic appeal, and foster a thriving, vibrant community and tourist destination. Quality of life: foster a unique, strong sense of place throughout Verdigris by encouraging all future developments to integrate design elements that reflect the town's district identity, history, and cultural values. Enhance community health in Verdigris by operating comprehensive services, organizing health-oriented events, and promoting active transportation activities and alternatives. So then there are overall policies that are suggested as a part of this comprehensive plan that would be that decisions that are made moving forward, because this plan ultimately is driven by the community, is that whenever the planning commission and town board makes a decision, that they're making it in consistent use with the comprehensive plan. conformity, that there would be conformity with comprehensive plan for rezoning, interpretation for future development guide, allowance for variances. So that means that if something doesn't quite, square peg doesn't fit a round hole, that there should be a way for people to move forward without having to get bogged down within regulations. Regular review of amendments of the comprehensive plan, training of staff, and of course, most importantly, public engagement. So, the big concern that has been seen and understood by this committee is the use of certain words that are being utilized within this document. So, there is a big concern of the word sustainability. And so, when we're talking from this committee's standpoint, when we're talking about sustainability, we're just saying that if the town is to grow, then we want to make sure that it grows appropriately, aka we don't want to put in a wood pulp facility that's going to utilize all of our water, because we need to utilize that for ourselves. So we're just trying to make sure that our water source is sustainable. So, but either it can be defined or removed as a part of this document, because there's a lot of concerns that a lot of these words tie back to Agenda 21 and Biden 3030 plan. And so wanted to make sure that this community is comfortable with this document moving forward. And so a citizen was able to provide with me some of the things that were changed as a part of the Rogers County plan. And so this committee is reviewing and trying to identify where within this document that these words are being utilized and to change or remove them accordingly. And in addition to that, social equity, removing that word open space, changing that to agricultural or conservation, just ensuring that they're being utilized for agricultural purposes, that the people who own the property are able to utilize that. That is not about trying to state that this land shall be, have to be open space and it'll have to not be able to be developed. That's not the intent. Defining what the gateway is within the document, preservation, changing that to maintenance or maintain. I know that was a concern that was raised. And then low impact development practices, removing that entirely within the document. And like I said before, annexation, making sure the document clearly states that if there was to be annexation, that it would be voluntary only. And so I want to stress to you, this is the end of me talking nonstop, and my apologies for being rather droll. But that's, this is a very large document. I know some people, there's a lot of fluff in it, but there's also a lot of good information into it as well. And so it's important that this committee, along with the Planning Commission and the Town Board, hears the concerns that you have and to make sure that this document moving forward reflects those concerns, and so that way we have a good document that everyone, as much as possible, can adhere to and improve moving forward. So. Sure. Low impact development practice means like instead of utilizing a storm ditch or a storm culvert underground to convey water, is that it would go into a bioswale, which is basically water going into where there's like a small marsh. And what that does is that it helps clean out the oil and the fertilizer or anything else that's in there before it goes into the creek system. And so that's what low impact development is. Or potentially, instead of having asphalt that is the road base, that it's called a pervious surface, which means it allows water to percolate through down to the ground instead of just having it roll off into the ditches. So that's what low impact development is.
That doesn't make sense to me, that marsh takes out the oil that it uses before it hits the river. That would be high impact.
That would be a high impact to ensure that it does not affect them. But it's low impact in the sense that it's having, by the time it gets to the river, it's having a low impact on the river.
What's that social equity?
Social equity is a word that's basic, and I understand that being a very big concern, is that a lot of buzzwords that are floating around with that are ensuring that everybody has equal amounts of stuff. And so we are a capitalistic community and a government, and so that is something that is a concern to everybody. So I'm going to let the chairman take back over. I know people signed up to speak and ask questions, and we'll kind of go from there.
Okay, well, now I'm going to take questions from the audience here, and we'll go right down the sign-in sheet. First is Mr. Dorsey, Terry Dorsey.
Yeah, they come up there and stay here. All right. Can you hear me?
No.
Hello. Now you can hear me. First of all, I want to tell you that I'm Terry Dorsey. We're one of the original families in this valley. By the way, we built almost half of the homes. The Dorsey builders built about half the homes in this valley, in the Verdigris area. So can you hear me? All right, I'll get a little bit louder. All right, I got 3 minutes, so I'm going to try to throw out a bunch of questions. My first question was, are you voting tonight? Because the paper we were handed said possible vote tonight. My second concern is, if you vote tonight, I lose almost the entire value of my home. Let me tell you why. Because if they try to turn 4110 into a 3-lane road, they've got to take about 13 to 15 feet out of my property. I live on an elevated piece of land. I already have a driveway like this. You cut that much more, and I'm going to need a catapult. If the city can provide it, or 4-wheel drive, either one, it'll work. But right now, you would destroy my neighbor. And by the way, my neighbor is the biggest guy in this room. He'll meet you in the dark right after this meeting. No, he really won't. He's a wonderful Christian guy. So Darren lives in the underground house. So here's my attitude. Why don't you take all the land from his side, and I'll be okay. I may not be as good a Christian as he is. Well, here's the moral story. He lives underground. You move all that land 20 feet over there, we're in trouble. How would you like to sleep with trucks running about 20 feet from your head? He lives underground. Here's another thing, and I'm just talking about 2110 Road. 2110 Road, because of all the development I did on that road, I can tell you, it meanders. It is not in its easement. By the way, I told the guys before the meeting, it's that road at the Baptist church at the top of the hill is 17 feet out of easement. So you're going to take another 13, 15 feet to do this road. You're driving by somebody's house, or if we correct it like we should, you're going to be sitting on the front row of the Baptist church. And what's worse, if you try to do anything down in the old town by Verdigris, you're all going to be Assembly of God members. Because they're only 15 feet off the road. How do you build a road there? Are you going to buy all those old houses? Are you going to buy my house? Because you're going to destroy the value. If you vote today, if you vote next week, if you vote next month or next year, the day you take the vote is the day I have to disclose, if I sell my house, that there's a plan that could take the value of my house. Who's going to compensate me? Just tell me where to send the bill and I'll send it.
Mr. Dorsey?
Yeah.
Your time's up.
Thank you.
Okay, the next person on the list is D.T. Mail.
I'd like to yield my time to Terry Dorsey.
Is that possible?
Yes, go.
I spent the afternoon with the #1 land attorney in Rogers County, making sure I understood the rules of the game, okay? That's a 50-foot road to do 3-lane, and you can look in on their information where the 3 lanes go. And there are 3 bottlenecks on 4110. One is at the Baptist church. You're gonna hurt somebody on that one. The second one is at my house, but the first one, an original one, is right there on the old town. I mean, you take 15 feet on each side, and these people are living 20 feet from the road. Their front door is 20 feet from the road. Pretty scary. So, you know, if there's a plan to solve that, are you going to buy all those houses out? Are you going to buy the Assembly Church out? Are you going to buy the Baptist Church out? You're going to buy mine? I'm just a short distance from that new district, red district at the end of 4110. We just need to know. Because my concern is, if I want to sell next month, I have to disclose this if it's passed. And you say, well, it's not going to happen for 25 years. It doesn't matter. Somebody wants to know their best investment is secure. Right?
Yep.
Hey, the other question I wanted to ask is, if we're using state and federal funds, you need to know there are stiff regulations that come with that.
Yep.
Okay?
Exactly.
I talked to the guys that wrote the script for that. And it's dangerous when you start playing with this kind of money.
Yes, it is.
I mean, I have total, I know these guys over here that's serving on these committees, I have total confidence in them. But what I'm afraid of is there's a lot of this that has not been thought out.
Thank you.
And the fear is that we're going to get into it 5 years and realize, oh, it's going to cost us $25 million just to fix 4110 Road by buying everybody out. It's like living on a golf course. I built one, bought a few. You want to change that golf course into something else? Here's the danger. My house backs up to the golf course. I have $50,000 of extra equity because I live on the golf course. You take the golf course away, who's going to pay me that equity? That's where class action lawsuits come from.
Yeah.
And that's why there's at least 3 golf courses in the Tulsa Metro that haven't stuck a shovel in the ground because they're scared to death of the class action lawsuit. So here's my concern. Before this is voted on, somebody needs to take some serious looks at these old roads. I was alive when all this road was brown gravel, mine from the old, 50, mine from the state land. You know, anybody know where the state land's at?
Okay, you're done.
They would harvest it, and old Raj Perky would drive the grader on each side of the roads, plowing that old gravel back up on top, and then they'd haul a few new loads in, and he'd level it.
Time's up.
All right, I'll finish my story. Twice a year, they leveled our roads, and we were happy. Because of that old grader, every road has been moved. It's meandered out of its easement, and that's why it happened. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. D.T. Mayo,
That was it.
John Wayne.
I'm just gonna say real quick, the guys on the planning commission up here are appointed, they're not elected, they're doing this stuff, this is their own part, and I can assure you that none of these guys have made up their mind on anything. that
Can't
they're
hear
talking
you.
about. Everybody's got their opinion and everything that they doing. Enough about that, couple of things,
We can't hear you.
We can't hear you.
You gotta go to the mic.
Come up to the mic. Just stick to the rules.
one of the things I would,
Go up to the mic.
you know, as far as parks and stuff.
You gotta hold it.
We all need to have parks.
There you go.
Is this better?
Yes.
I like the parks idea. I'm not so sure about the thing out on Highway 266 and drawing some of our resources from our first responders, police department over there. We're gonna put a bunch of activity over there in an area that's probably gonna flood every 4 or 5 years. But I really do see the use for parks. Also, I don't know, and you can answer this later. I don't own a mini storage, but I think there's probably better uses of our road frontage on Highway 66 than mini storages. Nothing against the people that put mini storages in, but I did wonder if you actually had the opportunity to make any changes to the zoning ordinance regarding that, to put commercial businesses in there rather than mini storages. That was one of my things. So anyway, I don't live in Verdigris, so I'll yield the rest of my time to whoever. Thank you.
Debbie Milfrey?
My name is Debbie Miley. One of my concerns is that they said the survey was sent out, but I never received one. And then another thing is the senior housing. I find it hard to believe that seniors are going to live in a Verdigris where there's no grocery store, no Walmart, no drugstore. I'm concerned about easements of any kind on private property. And the public housing with apartments and business offices here just doesn't seem appropriate. Thanks.
Next person.
I think they're trying to figure out the name.
Oh.
Next will be Jake Powell.
Well, I just came to ask about the annexation. That gentleman answered it earlier. So I'll just ask that you just remove any part of annexation out of it. I don't feel like I have a vote in what the town does because I don't want to live in the town limits. So I'll yield my time to Mr. Dorsey.
You might want to leave the microphone. All right, 3 more questions. Number 1, how much did you spend on this study?
$50,000.
How much?
50,000.
Okay. Number 2, is this study a prerequisite to getting plugged into some of these special monies
Yeah.
like NCOG? Is it a requirement of NCOG? Because several people here are saying that part of this whole exercise is to access various types of money. Is that so or is it not? Because if you say no and we find out later it is, you're not going to be welcome in this community. Period. We're going to ask you to leave. Is that fair? So make sure we're all honest here. If there's anything that we're getting locked into by doing this, to access something to be, I don't want to be like Claremore.
Exactly.
If I want to be like Claremore, I have plenty of lots up there I can build up there. I don't want it. I don't want to be like Catoosa, and I sure don't want to be like Tulsa.
Yep.
Most of the people in this room have 2 concerns. They didn't move here to be in Tulsa. They moved out of Tulsa to have a little bit of space. Number 2, anyone that lives on any of these streets are highly concerned that in the long run it's going to cost them a big piece of their value of their home. Oh, you're only taking 12 feet, it's not a big deal. It is a big deal if it affects the value of your home.
Yes.
You're willing to work for an extra 10 years to recover that value. Because that's what it boils down to. And these people who are leaders, we expect you, and I'm looking at you guys, to protect the value of our home, number 1. That's our greatest fear for coming here. That something's going to happen, and we're going to wake up 5 or 10 years ago, and some of us are going to be too old to have teeth. And we're going to be trying to defend and get our stuff back. And then it's going to be way too late. So we need some assurance. We're not trying to be mean, but I need some assurance. We've all lived long enough. By the way, the port of Catoosa, that was my family's farm. In 1968, with eminent domain, they kicked us off that land. Okay? So, I have a little bit of experience to say what I'm saying. We need somebody to protect us. Was it for the better of the community? Yes. And that part of my family did fine. But still, it's the purpose of why we're here, is to say, make sure everybody's honest and make sure we're not getting tied into something that will rob us blind later.
That's good. You're rocking it.
Okay, Mr. E. Wakeling?
I give mine to Mr. Dorsey. Hey, you're hitting. Keep it up.
I don't know if there's any other question to ask.
Well,
Outside of, we just need to know what the next step is past this meeting. Are you going to vote to
Talk on the
We are
mic.
not going to vote tonight.
Okay, that's not the question.
That was your question.
That is not the question. I said, are you going to vote this in as it stands?
No, not tonight.
I'm not asking about tonight.
I'm telling you.
I'm talking about a month from now, a year from now. Are you going to vote this in as it stands,
I have
or
no
is
idea you're
there
voting.
grounds to amend it?
There's gonna be another.
Well, here's the other concern. I didn't even hear about this until a month ago. And I didn't get this invitation, this meeting, until 24 hours ago. So look around this room. There's 1,563 residents in this house. How many of them don't know about it?
Yeah.
So there needs to be a real concentrated effort to communicate with every household.
Yep.
So some of these people that live on roads like 4110 don't wake up one day and they step out their front door and somebody slaps them in the nose just because they are standing too close to the road. Okay? I'm just saying, let's be realistic. We're a community. While we have leadership, the greatest trouble I have with this plan is there's no vote going on here.
Right. Exactly.
We don't have a say-so in it. And what you guys do, even though you have good intentions, could very well hurt a lot of people's value in this home, in this building. Give us some assurance. Show us how you can protect us. That might be the next step.
notification, county.
Sir, hey. You're not on the list to speak.
If you want to speak, whisper in my ear, I'll do another 3 minutes. Alright. I'm not trying to be mean here. I don't want to...
Terry, you've said the same thing over and over.
Not necessarily.
It's his right to. Keep talking, you've got 39 seconds.
This meeting of tonight is to take in considerations and suggestions from the audience.
Okay, did you write that down?
Yeah, you can write
We'd
it
like to
down.
have protection that this will not be done until it's been well thought out and possible amendments can be made. All right?
That's right, that's right.
All right. That's not the same information, by the way.
Next on the list is Trudy Mayo.
It feels like we're hogging all of the time here because Darren Big Guy is my husband and I live in the underground house with him. And I am worried about the same things that Terry's worried about. I'm worried that I will wake up and find out that there's a big road right next to my house and I've lost all my property's value. I'm worried that nowhere on your plans are things that are important to me. For example, why isn't there something on there about sidewalks? I would love to have a sidewalk that went from the high school around to the Casey's and around to the grade school because our kids are walking on those big roads dangerously every single day. So, that seems like a good idea to me as opposed to losing my property's value and And also, there was some verbiage in there about the annexation, and that I had questions about that because it felt like we don't get a choice. No one's asking me if I want to be annexed into Verdigris, and I don't. I live on just outside Verdigris's lines, and I'm totally happy with that. I chose that. I would like to keep that. Thank you.
Next on the list is Kathy Hahn.
I just want to speak as one who lives in the fence line, but not in the city limits, because I didn't even know this was going on if it hadn't been for Facebook. And those of us who live, I don't live very far outside the city limits, so it would definitely affect me and a lot of us, I think. And it seems like there should be some sort of mechanism to include us in the communication and just to have a voice in it, because it does affect us. And I do want to emphasize that when I drive out of the city, like out of Claremore, out of Wausau, out of Tulsa, and I come back to Verdigris, I go, no more traffic. Not just wide open spaces. It's good for my soul, and I don't want that to change. So that's my number one concern is I don't have a voice, and I don't want it to change. So however that can happen. And you say we want to grow. Well, we have grown. It's not like we're a retarded organism that hasn't grown. We've grown and grown and grown, and I do understand we need to have a comprehensive plan, and that's a good idea. A comprehensive plan is never bad. So that's, I just want to have a voice as a landowner owner.
Ellen Pruitt.
Guys, I have some of the same concerns. I have a home in the city limits, and I have one that's just on the outside of the city limits. I do not want that home annexed in. So what happens if the two people on either side of me says, yes, let's annex it, I get annexed without a choice? You're saying 65% or 45% or whatever, that means I still lose my annex. If everybody else wants to be annexed in, I have to be annexed, correct?
The town is not going to force annex anyone.
On anybody. If I'm the only one in the area, I don't have to be annexed. Is that what you're saying?
I'm saying that you do not have to be force annexed.
Okay.
You have to petition to be annexed.
Okay, so if I don't petition, I don't get annexed. Correct. Right, so the other part is, I'm one of most of us did not hear about this meeting, didn't hear about the last meeting, and I'm in the city limits. But I never heard about it until about 3 weeks ago on Facebook.
Yep. Yes.
So why is it you had a survey? How did you have a survey without us knowing about it?
Yeah, exactly.
That makes no sense to me. None of lots of sense. Who agreed to pay somebody $50,000 for a 165-page book? I never even heard about that either until 2 or 3 weeks ago. And where did we buy 10 acres? I just heard about that tonight. The city bought 10 acres? I don't get all of this. I know you don't answer many of these questions that I'm asking. So, I don't know how this, and I do know that I'm answering any questions. I'm just asking them apparently. And I am agreeing with the lady who said, senior citizens are not going to want to live here. And we don't want apartments, so why would we want senior citizens? Because they're not going to build it. If they want to build it, they're going to build a house. They're not going to live this far from Walgreens and CVS and Walmart.
And we don't want it.
And I want to know how you guys are going to finalize this. Do we get a vote at all? We didn't get a vote on paying the $50,000, and we didn't get a vote on paying the rest of it. Do we get a vote? When you guys get this done?
You vote for your elected officials.
Okay. I understand that. This is a 165-page document. Do we get a vote on that one?
Are you talking about on the comprehensive plan?
Yes.
You can make suggestions, and comprehensive plan committee will take that into consideration. It's like Larry said, things could be changed on it.
Okay. How about that?
Stan? Is it Stan Reed or?
First of all, part of my concern is that growth will also cause a strain on resources. So the more growth we get with this plan, the more strain is going to be applied to our resources that we're supposedly growing with this plan. Does that make any sense? It's like, we want more taxes, great, but then the people that are moving in are going to put more strain on the tax burden, basically. So, long story short, I hope you guys are genuine with actually wanting to hear what we are saying. I kind of feel like you already have your minds made up. I don't know if you're actually wanting to hear us, but anyhow, I appreciate the opportunity to talk.
So, we're not necessarily trying to grow, okay? In my opinion. We have grown, and you guys have said that. And here's our concern. We're gonna grow whether we want to or not. So this kind of gives us a little roadmap. If they start coming and not start, like I said, they come every day. We're building all the time. We can't really stop the growth, but we can't control it. So this is a mechanism to kind of control it. And there's nothing set in stone on any of this. This is 100% input, and we're sorry if you guys are just now finding out, but give us your ideas. We're not trying to be mean either. Just give us your input, and we'll base our decisions on that.
I got two real serious questions. Number one.
All right, hold it.
I think they have questions for you yet, sir.
They can be on the list, sir. They can be on the list.
Don't be ugly, okay? Don't be
Yeah.
ugly. We're a community. Don't be ugly.
Lisa Lear.
It's the one that doesn't talk at all. Yeah. I know. There you go.
So I'm not a speaker, first of all, but anyway, your plan does follow the 2030 agenda, even though you keep saying it does not. It's all the same plan.
You gotta put it up to your mouth.
Is that better? Okay, so if you were serious and were not trying to follow the agenda, you would have taken like the Rogers County plan. They've got the resolution they attached. A gentleman tried to give you the Logan County plan resolution that they did that said, no, we are absolutely not doing the 2030 agenda. You wouldn't even look at that. There's an attachment to the Rogers County plan that also says you're not following the smart cities, we're not doing the 2030 agenda, we're not gonna take all your crap, let you eat bugs, and you'll own nothing and be happy about it. You didn't put any of that in this. And if you read through it, you in reality are following the 2030 agenda. So you denying it doesn't change the facts. And whoever that other woman was a minute ago, no, you don't get to vote on it. They will actually do whatever they want. So I'll answer that for you. So anything else, if you were serious, you would have taken more of that. Burroughs said he also is over Verdigris. Burroughs signed the resolution. So I don't know. I know you guys get a lot of money for this, and I know that's what you want, is all that money to the federal government, but you also, all of you, will be the same as the rest of us. You will also own nothing, eat bugs, and be happy about it. So you're not going to get any special treatment when the 2030 agenda may take over. And all the land and stuff you take, you won't get any more tax money, which in turn makes everybody that has any land remaining, their taxes are going to go up. And then, since you will do it so high, then they can't afford it, and then you get to take that for free. But just like a gentleman and family in Arkansas, his land, his dad owned land. He had a farm. They said, well, you have to process, for these EPA rules, this fertilizer before you spread it. He couldn't afford that. He turned it to an orchard. Then the orchard, they said, if you don't put and earn $1,600 on this orchard, we are going to subdivide your land and determine how many houses we can stick on that. Then we're going to charge you as though they're sitting there, which of course he can't pay for that. So then they get to take that land too. So, I mean, all of it is the whole 2030 agenda, and you guys might think that you're going to be exempt from it, but you will actually go down with the rest of us if you vote it all through.
Quick reminder, this is a volunteer table. I've got to get a cheeseburger for my years of service working on this commission.
Okay.
Sure.
Trudy Newcomb.
So I live off of 4110 and Lindy Lane. My husband built that home 23 years ago. He was one of the first 5 homes in that addition, just back behind Mr. Dorsey. And I know for a fact he would not, he's passed away now, but I know he would be totally against apartments coming in right there off of 266 and 4110. I don't know why anybody would want to live on a highway that has trucks running up and down it, doing 65 to 75 mile an hour. And especially elderly people. Why would they want to be over there, be trying to turn and get almost hit? Because I've been almost hit, I don't know how many times. Because elderly people don't turn fast and they don't pull out fast. So I just don't see why we would be wanting to put any elderly housing over in there, in that area, or even businesses. That area is already congested enough trying to pull out. And the traffic, you know, trying to get the police department or the sheriff's department or anybody to try to control the speed of the traffic on that highway right there. To turn on to 4110 has been like pulling teeth. So I just don't see why we would want to add housing to that area.
Next is Judy Emmons.
Hi, I live on Lindsay Lane 2, 4110, and my concern is for that same area that was colored brown with a little bit of red, 4110 and 266, and it came all the way down to include houses and property on either side of 4110 where people live, where it's private property. I don't know if the gentleman's here who his father owns beautiful strip of land there. Well, that's included in the Brown area, Larry, that you had on the map. And it's like, why would you even do that? And it butts up to Shan's backyard. And there's homes back there. So I don't know if you're waiting for them to die to buy up the land or what. But an older gentleman did die, you know, at that cross street. I think it's Miller Road 4110. And he sold to HUD. So we know that that little section there is HUD property. So our concern, of course, is congestion. And it is a death trap to pull out of 4110 to get on to 266 because they're going 65 miles an hour. So, I mean, there's plenty of acreage across the street, open fields. And then down a little further west, there's a lot more open land down there to put some things in where there aren't any houses. It's like, so why would you put commercial and then semi-commercial things right at the end of 4110? It's just a bad idea. So we're against that. And of course, widening 4110, I didn't know if that was proposed, but the guys that talked earlier, there's no room. I don't know how you're going to do it. It'd be nice to fill in the ditches so when you have to pull off the road to let a big truck by, you know, you don't hit a mailbox or fall in the ditch yourself. But it would be nice to fill in the ditches on either side so nobody loses their lawn. But at least if you have somebody, Oklahomans always drive on the other side of the center lane. I don't know why. I think it goes back to dirt roads, you know, we're driving down the center, it was smoother. But anyway, and then there's some terminology that says appropriate land use. That word appropriate is huge. What does that mean? And then there's some other things, sustainability in all aspects of infrastructure. That's a huge statement that could mean a lot of different things. And I'm glad to hear from you, Larry, that sustainability meant ability to pay for it and ability to last long, but
Next is Charlie Zimmett.
First off, I don't live in the Verdigris town limits, but I have land that is along the river. My concern is how long is it going to be before they come and take my land along the river, put up some walkway, and anybody else that is in the limits at their land borders of the river, how much wildlife is going to be what the heck you call it? Yeah, displaced or just chased off, you know, that's but the thing about the roads, if there was a way that you could get the Turnpike Authority to open up the highway from Catoosa to Claremore, you would get away from all the traffic there is on 66 out here. And the thing with putting the sidewalks in, the roads are narrow, the utilities run down the side of the road in the ditch. Where are you going to put the sidewalk? That's the only other thing I have.
Mr. Dante?
It's actually
Liz?
Miss.
My
My husband and I are new to this community. We've only been here a year, but we moved from Oregon where there was a lot of government involvement, which was not our friend. And so I first want to say that anytime you see something where you're getting public funding, you're selling your soul.
Yep.
And it's really important to know that. Even if it looks good and they do things that you could never do yourself, there's always a price to pay.
Yep.
One of the things that the consultant said was that this does not affect people outside of Verdigris. Of course it does. It absolutely affects the whole community, and I think that's important. The other thing is, he said things would happen gradually. And what happens is you let one thing happen and you let another thing happen, and pretty soon you think, what has happened? And anytime there's even a 10% change, it starts to change the whole landscape. I noticed that when I was in a job in a manufacturing plant. There was a 10% increase in employees, and it changed the whole landscape of the place. And so anytime there's even a 10% change, it's going to affect us a lot. Growth always brings crime, and you have to, and growth has to happen, obviously, but you have to also not pretend that it's not going to have crime with it, because it will. I also believe that a comprehensive plan is important. I just don't think it needs to be this extreme. Just like with the fire department, I would have loved to vote for that if it had been one fire truck and one building, not more than that. I think we need to be realistic. This is a community that wants to stay smaller. The other thing is, anytime you add non-owner property, the ratio changes. There's not the pride of ownership. I think that's important to keep in mind. We are close enough to Tulsa and Claremore that we don't have to keep growing. And I know that one thing that wasn't addressed is, if the senior housing is here, why would they? Because we could have a pharmacy or whatever, but that would be the next step then, is that we want to bring in a supermarket, and we want to bring in a pharmacy. And I think those are things we have to decide as a community. Do we want that much growth? I don't. Also, my experience from living in Oregon is every time government came in, it also included public transportation, which is a mess in itself. We saw such misuse of money. We saw crime increase on the public transportation. The same thing with public parks. It sounds like a wonderful thing, but the government does not do a good job of taking care of things. They don't. Yep. That's not their first priority. But anytime we can keep things in the private sector, that's where it needs to be. Thank you.
Next is Barkley Aiken.
So I'm a newer member of this community as well. I've been here for 10 years, but I've not been here my whole life. I used to live behind where the gathering place is at. I've been in Tulsa, like most of you. I came out here because I don't want to be 86th Street North in Owasso. I want to live here. I want to raise my family here, and I don't want to deal with all the extra crap that a lot of the stuff is going to bring. But I live off of 4109 Road, and we are remodeling a house off 4110 for my mother to live in, who is a senior. And if you want to develop the north end of 4110, you're going to have to widen that road, because traffic's already there, and if you want to increase that, you're going to be taking property value. It's going to happen. I'm bringing that up again because I do not support that north section being developed. I've got neighbors there. They're not going to sell their land. They're not going to move off that land. They've been there. It's going to be a battle. What are the long-term, medium-term, and short-term goals? That was brought up in here. I know you're not answering questions, but we need to know what that is. 1, 3, 5, 25. What are we actually going to be planning on trying to do in the next 25 years? What is very limited multifamily dwelling? That could be anything. That could be one apartment complex. That could be none.
it still talks kind of about that. So what are we doing with that? I agree with the senior living. My dad is in a facility down at Catoosa. He's down there for a reason. He's close enough to us. I don't necessarily need him right down the road from me. It doesn't make sense. I work out at the airport. They get government funding all the time for every single project they do. And every single time they do, they take something away because they have to prove that they need that government funding. I have watched time and time again, they have taken something from us that has been a tool for us to use at the airport, because that's the only reason that the federal government will give them money. They are not here to help you. They're here to take things from you.
Yes.
And if you all are appointed, or not appointed, you are volunteer, and I appreciate that. As someone who has volunteered on things before and doesn't get the credit, and doesn't see for the work you do, I appreciate that. However, what I will say is everyone that has spoke tonight, if you are appointed, you are here to do the will of the people.
Yeah,
the people have spoken, and the people have spoken that this is not what they want. And I want to give the rest of 20 seconds of my time to my wife, Shane.
Can y'all hear me?
Yes.
I used to talk to preschool, so hope I can get back there. All right, I'm only here to talk about the emotive side of being a mom and living off of 4109 Road, being able to take my kids on a rock. Yep, they probably picked up rocks. They pick up persimmons too. Check see if it's a spoon. But we go on a walk down 51 or 5. Oh, there we go. We want to go for walks. We don't want a bunch of traffic down that road.
Next is Elizabeth Lee.
Hello, my name is Elizabeth Lee. I am a resident of Verdigris since 2015.
You just gotta put it up close to your mouth.
Can you hear me now? Okay, resident here since 2015. I own Verdigris Valley Family Medicine, the little rural clinic right behind the donut shop. I have 3 boys, 1 in high school, 2 in elementary school. So I'm a business owner here. I did not know anything about this. There was a lot of talk about healthcare. I haven't been approached or asked any questions. I can tell you that we cannot support any senior citizen, like our medical cannot do that. That's not going to be appropriate for our town. I think a comprehensive plan is important, but the level that this plan develops our town is not what we want as residents of town or for our children. The businesses I see, as a business owner, I see and feel the tension and lack of support as far as growth goes. There's not much here, but that's not bad. You have to work with what you have. There are needs for more businesses, but not to the level of this plan goes. Town growth is fair, improvement of our town is fair, parks and recs is fair, walking trails, sidewalks, but we love our small town, and that's why we're here. The things that most of us are here about and upset about, I feel like this was hidden and secretive. I don't appreciate your tone towards us. It doesn't feel good as a community. This online survey no one knew about. 97% of the residents here did not vote. Only 140 people out of over 5,000. Half the people here probably don't even get on Facebook. We're too busy living than looking for a survey. Why did you not send mailers? If more people had voted, would this have halted the process? I know you're not going to answer this, but I'm just going to, all my questions. We would like to be a part of this vote. Is that a possibility? Will there be a vote at each stage or just one initially for the next 25 years? Why not in stages? Because as you just said, things change over years. Who paid for the $50,000? How was that funded? We can talk all we want, but we need answers, and it does feel very one-sided, which does not feel good when your livelihood and your family and the way that you're raising your family is at stake. Our highways can be dangerous, so can the railroad. 20 to 30 trains pass through here a day, and we want to increase traffic. The central location of the business, from what I saw, was B. abandoned golf course. We have 3 main roads to Route 66 that are backed up miles each day. That's not gonna work. Also, are you gonna have foot access or parking? Like, how are you gonna get to all these small businesses that are at the golf course? Where are we gonna park?
Okay, next on the list is Mike Gessel.
I don't use these things very much, so I'm not good at it. So here's the deal. Your presentation was clear as mud.
Put it
I'm a
up to your
simple guy,
mouth.
I don't understand that stuff, so I'm not going to bother you with the questions. I'm going to ask you one.
Put it
Why
to your
do you
mouth.
live here? I can tell you why I live here. I lived in a big city my whole life, and I was to the point where I was so stressed, I was in and out of the hospital, thought I was having a heart attack all the time. Have 3 little kids.
How long have you lived here?
5 years.
I've lived here since the 50s.
Okay, but these are my time. So, we woke up one day and I talked to my wife and I said, we've got to get out of this. She kept saying, I feel like we need to be in this town, Verdigris. We knew not a soul. We didn't have a job. We had no idea what we were going to do. But we knew we were supposed to be. So we moved here. Call it grace of God, call it will, whatever. But we moved here knowing this is where we wanted to be. And we got here, and I started thinking about all the things that could change. And then Oklahoma changed me. Now I realize why I live here. Now I realize why I raised my kids here. We have cops, these guys. I walk into Quick Trip and they all smile and wave at me. I know a couple of them by name, are firefighters, same deal. You don't get that in a big town. You get lost. You're a number and nobody gives a crap about you. Here, I got teachers driving school buses to my house, dropping my kids off. And if my kid's acting up, they sure tell me. You don't get that in a big city. So I don't want the big city to come out. Thank you.
Okay, the next one is Sherry Bass.
Exactly.
Okay, that concludes our list. Larry, if these people want to send in a suggestion, how's the best way for them to send in a suggestion?
The best way to do that, I will have cards back here that you can fill out as well if you don't want to go online, but if you go to visionverdigris.org, visionverdigris.org, you can find a link there to submit a comment, or you can also email at visionverdigris@gmail.com.
Emails don't get answered though, so what's the recourse for that?
Again, this is gathering information, the committee is processing it, and hopefully we'll be able to get back to you as soon as possible. Because it's the committee that's running this, not me. So that's why.
He asked me to send him all the changes.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, that concludes the meeting. We're adjourning. Thank you.
They accepted.
Next step is we take a list of everybody.